boys and girls. I'm going to talk to you today about number 4.3a, and it has to do with the meaning of fractions and fractions on a number line. So we're going to look at the first Smartboard lesson that talks about fractions on a number line. Okay, when we look at fractions on a number line, we always need to try to figure out what our benchmark is and what our denominator is going to be. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to find your benchmarks, and I know 0 and 1 are my benchmarks. The second thing you're going to do, remember, is your hops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, because I know between 0 and 1 there are 6 equal pieces, that tells me that my denominator is probably going to be 6. So, if my denominator is 6, I'm going to go through here and put a 6. So the denominator, remember the denominator is how many pieces something is cut into, and the numerator represents whatever pieces they're going to answer. So by the end of the lesson today, you'll understand more about fractions on a number line, what the denominator looks like, what the numerator looks like, what the pieces stand for. So it says label each point on the number line in order, just like you would when you normally count. So this is 1 6, 2 6, 3 6, 4 6, 5 6, and 6 6. And notice 6 6 means you've got 6 pieces out of 6, and that is the same as one whole. So let's move on. Okay, next we need to find the denominator, and we already talked about that. Denominator is find your benchmarks, do your hops, and how many pieces does that equal. So when we look at it, again, we would circle 0. We would circle 1 because that's where those are our two benchmarks. When we would do our hops, and notice it's 6. It's really important, guys, that you do your hops. So find the first whole number after the point you were trying to find and label it so the numerator and the denominator are the same number. On this number line, our denominator, of course, would be the 6. Okay, let's go on. All right, finally we add the same common denominator to all our points. So if between 0 and 1 it's cut into 6 pieces, then the first piece would represent 1 6, 2 6, 3 6, 4 6, 5 6, and 6 6, which is the same again as one whole. What fraction is at point Z? Okay, what's the first thing we have to do? Well, let's find our benchmarks. The fraction is between 0 and 1. Okay, what's the next thing we're going to do? You're right, we're going to count our hops. So we're going to hop from 0 to 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that tells me that between 0 and 1, it is cut into 4 pieces. Therefore, my denominator has to be 4, and that's the first thing I'm going to figure out. So I'm going to put 4, 4, 4, 4. Now, in order to find the numerator, I just go back and look at the number. This is 1/4. This is 2/4, this is 3/4, and this is 4/4, which is the same as one whole. So if I'm looking for point Z, which is right here, point Z should actually represent 1/4. Let's see if that's correct, if it'll show me that. Nope, it doesn't want to show me. Well, I can tell you the answer is 1/4. Ooh, this one's a little more challenging. Okay, what is point B? Well, the first thing that I have to do again is figure out my benchmarks. So, I'm going to come over here. Here's 0. Here's 1. I'm going to do my hops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that tells me that my denominator must be 5. So I'm going to go back in and put my denominator 1 through 5, or 5. So fifths, this one is cut into fifths. Okay, now I'm going to go back and count my pieces. So this is 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, 4/5, and 5/5 is the same as 1 whole. Okay, now notice point B is after this point. So I'm going to make sure that my denominator is still 5. So between 0 and 2, I'm going to do my hops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so I know my denominator is still 5. So I'm going to go in here, and it's fifths. Now, here's the tricky part. Before this number right here, it is 1/5. However, there is one whole piece right here that you cannot leave out. So this right here represents one whole piece and 1/5. One whole piece and 2/5. One whole piece and 3/5. One whole piece and 4/5. And then this is one whole piece and 5/5, which equals the same as 2. Because one whole plus one whole is 2. Now, when you're writing a mixed number, because that's what this is a mixed number, it is a whole number and a fraction. You need to make sure that your whole number and your fraction are the same heights. Also, we prefer that the fraction bar goes straight across. If you do this, and you're trying to represent that whole number as a 1, it actually looks like it's an 11. So please make sure that the whole number is separate from the fraction part. But these are called mixed fractions. So in order to represent B, we have to look at the whole piece before it. So we've got one whole and 1/5. So we know the answer to B is 1 and 1/5. And we say the word and because it is a decimal again, and we're talking about decimals. And remember when we read decimals, when you have that word and, that tells you that you're getting into the decimal part. So this is 1 and 1/5. Okay, let's look at this one. This is point D. Okay, now they've kind of changed it up a little bit. First thing I'm going to do is look at my benchmarks. So I've got the benchmark 2, and I've got the benchmark 3. That tells me I'm talking about 2 whole pieces all the way to 3. What's my next step? I'm doing my hops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that tells me my denominator is in fifths. Now, and I'm going to go in here and put my denominator. But now remember, this is not representing 0 to 1. So this is not just 1/5. I have the whole number 2 over here. So I have to put that whole number 2 in front of that 1/5. Then I have to put the whole number 2 in front of the 2/5. Because right over here, I've got 2 whole pieces before I ever start this. So then this is the whole number 2 and 3/5. The whole number 2 and 4/5. And the whole number 2 and 5/5, and 5/5 is the same as 1, so 2 plus 1 equals 3. So you must be careful that you include the whole number when you're using mixed numbers. All right, back to 0 and 1. So here's my benchmark 0, here's my benchmark 1. So this right here means there's no whole numbers. Okay, it's between 0 and 1. So first step, circle my benchmarks. Second step, hop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, that tells me my denominator is 7. So 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7. Now I'm going to go back and put in the numerators according to the pieces. Here's 1/7, 2/7, 3/7, 4/7, 5/7, 6/7, and 7/7, which is the same as 1 whole. So H must represent 3/7. I think we have one more. Well, that's it. So that's the lesson for fractions on a number line. Remember, denominator, how many pieces it's cut into. Numerator is how many pieces that it's talking about. When you're talking about a mixed number, that means you have a whole and then you have a part, or you have a whole and you have a fraction, and you cannot leave off the whole pieces. Okay? We'll talk to you later. Bye.